Old St Peter's Church in Wilson's Lane in Thurso is one of the most iconic buildings in the Caithness town. Although ruinous, it has a rich history. The church is believed to have been built in the 13th century by Bishop Gilbert Murray, who was appointed by Alexander II as Treasurer of the North of Scotland. When staying at the palace at Burnside, he would preach in the church. Over 6 centuries, it was a place of worship until the last Sunday in December 1832, when the Reverend Walter Ross Taylor gave the last sermon there, before the congregation moved to the newly built St Peter's and St Andrew's. During the 16th and 17th centuries, extensions and alterations were made to the church, and the famous wide tracery Gothic window on the south gable was installed. This expansion doubled the size of the church and created the cruciform plan. The original medieval tower, which was built at an oblique angle, projects between the east and south aisles. Internally, the walls at the head of the pews were covered with wooden panelling, which were painted and crudely carved, with scenes from the Bible. One of these paintings depicted the offering of Isaac, with Abraham dressed in a kilt and hose. A pot with fire stood in the open corner, the ram tethered in another, with an angel above looking down on the scene. In 1670, however, repairs were required. There was no glass in the window and no money to replace it. In the 18th century, Thurso saw a doubling of its population. Therefore, in order to accommodate the increased numbers of parishioners, a loft was erected above the town aisle. Later, another one was built over the nave. By the end of the century, the church had little space left for expansion. In the 1820s, repairs were needed. The General Inspector of Works, James Bell, found the decay was worse than anticipated, and the cost rose steadily. The whole roof structure had both wet and dry rot, and many beams inside were decaying. That notwithstanding, the slates on the roof all needed to be replaced through age and weathering. The masonry too was at risk, as the lime had turned to dust, making the walls dangerous. It was following this report on the poor state of the church that a new church was proposed, and on the last Sunday of 1832, over 700 years of Christian worship ended on the site. In 1649, a well-known cattle thief and freebooter, Donald McAllister from Sutherland, attempted to plunder the town and take revenge following an alleged insult against him by the townsfolk. One Sunday, while he thought everyone would be at the church, he arrived with a group of followers, intent on burning the church to the ground, with the congregation inside it. Word of his intentions leaked to some of the eminent men of Thurso, and the warning was given. The parishioners rushed out of the building and grabbed anything that could be construed as a weapon that they could, and under Sir James Sinclair of Merkel, who was known to carry a weapon at all times, they attacked McAllister. Sir James attempted to kill him with his sword, but missed him, so his quick-thinking servant cut off his silver button, loaded his gun, and shot McAllister through the ear, and he died. Many of his followers were either killed or captured. In 1726, the Kirk Session granted use of the vestry to the town's magistrates to be used as a court, while one of the vaults was used as a prison. The church's own court was made use of on many occasions. If a wrongdoer was found guilty, he or she would be made to wear a sackcloth and forced to sit on the penance stool, where they would repent, or at least say the words, in public. When the old church was abandoned, many of the relics were lost. The communion cup, the baptism basin, as well as the bell engraved, the church bell of Thurso 1740, were all lost. The ornate pews and pulpit were abandoned, but the bowl from the medieval font was saved, as was a large key said to have been from the church. All the ornate artwork on the panelling has all but disappeared. In the church grounds lie many townsfolk, although some of the headstones are now within the boundary wall, with the oldest dating from 1357. Within the ruins of the church itself are some interesting headstones. During that final sermon, the minister Walter Ross Taylor commented that the church had been used for many generations as a place of worship. He spoke of how the pure light of the gospel shone, and that, within these walls, the gospel has been long and often preached. Many a longing soul has been satisfied, many a mourner comforted, he continued, but the church had also witnessed sinners entering into it, curious about salvation, and had become members. The congregation could go away in the knowledge that St. Peter's was the place where they met God, where God spoke to his people, and where they themselves had sealed and ratified their covenant with him. He ended the sermon in a reflective mood, knowing many were reluctant to leave, but he reminded them that the new place was waiting, and that God was not confined to this or the other place, the other place being the newly built St. Peter's Church in the centre of Thurso. His first sermon there took place the following Sunday, the 6th of January 1833. The local congregation had asked the builder to construct a plain church, which could seat up to 1,800 people, with good acoustics so the minister could be heard. In the end, the number it could hold was considerably smaller. If you enjoyed this episode of Scotland's History, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching.